Okay, hello. I'll try and keep this as short as I can. So basically looking at the three pyramids of Egypt and archaeoastronomy, especially in regards to timekeeping and also the equinoxes. So we have the Great Pyramid, Khafre's Pyramid, which appears to be the largest, but it was shorter than the Great Pyramid, and also because the Great Pyramid is on a platform 33 feet lower than Khafre's Pyramid, it also gives you the illusion that it is a bit smaller than what it really is. So the Great Pyramid, Khafre's Pyramid, as they're called, and Menkaure's Pyramid, these three pyramids of the famous Giza plateau. So aerial view, Great Pyramid, Khafre's Pyramid, and Menkaure Pyramid. If you get your hands on it, there was a series called Time Scanners. They went to places, great cathedrals, Jerusalem, Petra, Egypt, and a few other places. Great series. They were using 3D imaging to map the best latest survey technology, and also they pointed out this long held idea that the Great Pyramids point to Heliopolis in Cairo, this ancient center of the mystery schools. There's only one obelisk left in Heliopolis itself in Cairo. You can go to Cleopatra's Needle, London, Cleopatra's Needle in New York, as they're called. They're not actually Cleopatra's Needle, that's a name given to them later, and Rome. So these very important Heliopolitan obelisks, New York, London, and Rome would be the best places to see them. But this, they pointed out that they're aligned to Heliopolis. Now, it may be a happy accident, but that does seem to occur. But also, Robert Bouval famously pointed out that they at least appear to follow Orion's belt, and because of a connection to Orion, and well, that's something else. But what I want to look at is the Great Pyramid, and it's aligned to true north, and it's along the ground alignment, to within 0.05 degree of 1 degree accuracy. Very, very, very high level of accuracy. But it's also to be in Khafre's Pyramid or the Red Pyramid. They are also of a similar accuracy, and the margin of error for the moment, let's say, is essentially identical. And this is a point. Now I'll put this description in the link with a connected paper as well, not just the article. And so depending on we don't know, there's no technical document to tell us how they did it, but if they were using this ancient method, which is again used across the ancient world for even town planning, for setting up the axis of cities, and in India and other places, if they were using this method, that inaccuracy of 0.05% could be explained that way, and would also explain why it is in not just the Great Pyramid itself, but a few others as well. Okay, so the Great Pyramid is actually an 8-sided pyramid, and these, okay, I'll get to the next photo now. So 1934, spring or the vernal equinox. We have the summer solstice. I'm in the southern hemisphere, so it's all upside down, but in summer solstice, that's the longest day of the year and the shortest night. The winter solstice is the shortest day and the longest night, and in between them we have two equinoxes, when the day and the night are of equal length. Equinox, equal. And this was taken 1934. Robert Bouval was the one who, I believe, found it in the Cairo Museum, brought it to pretty much the attention of the world. And it's lovely in several ways because it shows that the Great Pyramid has 8 sides, and this photo was taken at just the right moment, so we can see separate the southern face of the Great Pyramid. We have one side in light, one side in dark. Light and dark, night and day, equinox, equal length of night, equal length of day, which would be a poetic connection in that regards. However, so we just a close-up of it. So the 8 sides of the pyramid are clear to the eye. Now with a specialist camera, or if you can be lucky enough to get the right angle, you can. It is an 8-sided pyramid, and it's 31 inches the indentation on each side. So even this aerial shot gives you a bit of an idea of the eight-sided pyramid. Now 31 inches sounds like a lot, but spread over the roughly 756 feet. Each side of a pyramid is slightly different. There is no one side that is 756 feet, but that's just a good 756 feet. And so we get an idea of the eight-sided pyramid, which would make it very special amongst the others. Now, however, given the fame of this photo, and has been around for at least a couple decades now, I have not been able to find a modern photo where this occurs. Now, I'm sure people would be lining up on the Equinox to take the footage or the photo. I haven't been able to find it. 1934 seems to be the only one, so it needs to be kept in mind. Why exactly not? Because there hasn't been any significant changes to there, or removal of stone that would affect it. So that's a curiosity to me. But the establishment view, at least the main, and I'm just usually using the word mainstream, because even amongst the orthodox, it's there are gatekeepers, let's call it, but there is a lot of variation. But that's a political thing. I go into that. So they describe this as an accident. So just like when a house is newly built, it takes a little bit of time to settle. And even when, between, especially like at night time when things get colder, you can hear like an older house creak, that type of stuff. So the house settles. Now they believe, or at least they say, that this eight-sided pyramid is a result of the pyramid settling under its own weight after construction. Now that's really stretching it, because each one of these cracks, accidental cracks as they would say, are at 90 degrees from one another and go straight down the middle, and we have a measurable 31-inch indentation on each side. So if it is an accident, it's surely one of the most remarkable coincidences in engineering. And well, it's really stretching it. It is not an accident. It is intentional, because if these cracks were the pyramid settling, they would appear in the internal structures. There's no corresponding crack or obvious mark to show on the grand gallery or the shafts or anywhere else. So it is intentional design. We've always got to keep a little bit of doubt, but it's a remarkable coincidence, and that this cracking didn't affect the inside really stretches it. So they're all at 90 degrees from one another. And back to this famous photo from the spring equinox 1934. It's also so the southern face of the Great Pyramid, on the day when night and day are equal, light and dark, night and day, we have this equity between the southern face there. But also on the Khafre's pyramid, we also have a similar theme going on, because you can see the shadow at this specific time as well, how it points, and it points directly to the Sphinx. So if you were to stand in front of the Sphinx, on the equinox, the sun would set behind its head. I'm not sure whether it would be like dead set, but at least very, very close to the dead center of the Sphinx, lining up with the southern face, which would be just hidden behind the Sphinx there, of Khafre's pyramid. And just to show you the lineup there, and so another nice, again the shadow and the light, the sun doing this little play. And furthermore, that alignment would also point to the central niches in what's Temple of Khafre, these temples just in front of the Sphinx as well. So we have another connection there as well. Now, Abu Simbel has not on the equinox, but there are more than lots of astronomical archaeoastronomy connections, and connected to some really amazing engineering involved to get this kind of thing right. So on the equinox, we see the eight-sided pyramid, light and dark, day and night equality of the equinox. We also have on the southern face of Khafre's pyramid, goes through to the Sphinx, and what would be buried at that time, but what they call Khafre's temple, and the central niches, not just some random point. It seems to be pointing at a significant place in that temple. So of the three of the famous pyramids on that Giza plateau, we have two of them with very strong connections to the equinox. Now, go a little bit out there and sort of inspired by before when I was a kid. I love the Indiana Jones movies. A bit Laura Croft, Indiana Jones sort of moment, but it's a bit out there, but not too much, I would say. But anyway, firstly, so just like in that Indiana Jones movie, where he used on a certain day, he had to be in this underground chamber with the right length stick and with a glass or a gem, and that would illuminate his next part of the quest to find the treasure that he was looking for, the Ark of the Covenant. So, as a curiosity, are these shadows from the Great Pyramid and the Khafre's Pyramid, are they pointing at something at this particular time where this would happen? And again, just a reminder, there is no modern photos of this happening, so that needs to be kept in mind. But possibly, given their sophistication and riddles and the mystery schools, the way they operated was not this open system. We have the mystery schools and the priesthood kept their secrets much tighter, a different type of very mysterious. And so firstly, could those shadows be pointing to something? But also we have the third of these pyramids, Menkaure's pyramid, and it seems to be pointing at a structure, but unlike the Great Pyramid or Khafre's pyramid, I haven't been able to find any noticeable connection to the Equinox. That would be strange. Now, the official timeline would have all of these three essentially at the same time, and the same philosophy and religion, etc., however you want to put it. Yet this one doesn't have a clear and obvious connection to the Equinox. Menkaure's pyramid. So, southern face, Great Pyramid, split by light and shadow. We have a similar theme on Khafre's pyramid, also linking to the Sphinx and these other temples, sort of, again, this pointing at something which is interesting. So, could these points be of interest? So, of the two of the largest Giza pyramids, spring equinox especially connections, but why not in Menkaure's pyramid? And given that the Egyptians were, for instance, this is a replica of an ancient sundial, there are other Egyptian sundials. So, for instance, this sundial, you notice that it divides a day into 12 sections, 12 hours per day. And just like this older Egyptian sundial, it divides the day into 12 sections. Now, the equinox, day and night are equal, so especially using this would also be an indicator of why that day is so special. They are very skilled at measuring and survey, and measuring time in any civilization is an important feature to be able to regulate time and do everything that's connected with it. But they're also very skilled in astronomy. There are many archaeoastronomy connections, not just in Giza, but Abu Simbel, for instance, and other places, and that's also reflected across the ancient world. It's almost like find an ancient site which doesn't have some sort of equinox or solstice connection. It'd be harder to find one that doesn't than one that does. It almost seems to be a constant, again, not just in Egypt, but across the ancient world. So this special day of the equinox, archaeoastronomy, measurement and connections, and at the very least a possibility. It is like a bit Laura Croft, Indiana Jones style, but could these shadows also be indicating something as well? Maybe even not the location, maybe something to think about, just a curiosity. Wouldn't bet any. I wouldn't be willing to bet the house on it as of yet, but perhaps you find this an interesting pointer, and given all the other connections. And so with that, I hope you enjoyed and have a good one.